Varsity 8 Grand Final. 1, Duke University. 2, Oregon State University. 3, University of Oklahoma. 4, University of San Diego. 5, University of Iowa. 6, the University of Tulsa. Conditions remain blustery but not unrowable. And right now, the crew in lane number 3, the Sooners from Oklahoma, are making a run for it. They've got about a 4-seat advantage over Oregon State in that second spot, and third spot is Duke University over in lane 1. Fourth position is owned by Iowa Hawkeyes. Fifth spot goes the University of San Diego, and the University of Tulsa is in that 6th position. But it's Oklahoma in lane number 3, your leader, as we're by the 250-meter mark. Trying to extend right now. It seems they seem to have about a 4 or 5 seat advantage over the inside lane. The Duke Blue Devils are in that 2nd spot, with Oregon State in 3rd. Then coming back to lane 5, the Iowa Hawkeyes. And then it's University of San Diego with the University of Tulsa in that final spot. So coming up to the 500 meters into the race, University of Oklahoma with about a 4-seat advantage over Duke University, who has about the same advantage over Oregon State. And then it's Iowa, and then it's University of San Diego, but University of Tulsa is now making a move.
2 echelons beginning to shape up in this particular race, with Oklahoma, Duke, and Oregon State on the lead, and some open water back already to Iowa, University of San Diego, and Tulsa. This is the Women's Collegiate Varsity Grand Final. And we are on the water approaching our open area, 1,000 meters. On the lead, Oklahoma. The Sooners moving along strongly and smoothly. They got out to the early lead, but now they're being challenged along the shoreline side by Duke. So we'll see what strategy works itself out here. And the opportunity of early leadership as opposed to laying back and making a charge at the end. Oklahoma and Duke fighting it out. Tulsa making a move on the outside. But back to our leaders, actually 3 crews now involved. Oklahoma, Duke, and Oregon State. Iowa, USD, and Tulsa on the trail. The Hawkeyes from Iowa stroking along strongly, trying to make up some ground, but we still have Oklahoma. Now Duke making a move up on the first side of the lane number 1. Oregon beginning to step up a little bit. University of San Diego, Iowa, and Tulsa. Oklahoma got off to the early lead, and they continue to stay in that spot.
Duke were the fastest crew yesterday. They did a 6:48. They seem to have grabbed the lead at the moment. Sorry, they were not the fastest crew yesterday. Oregon State were the fastest crew yesterday at a 6:47, closely followed by Duke, who have grabbed the lead at the moment, who are in turn closely followed by Oklahoma at 6:50. There's then some separation in times between those 3 crews and University of San Diego, Iowa, and Tulsa, and that's the sort of separation we're seeing in the race at the moment. Between lanes 1, 2, and 3, Duke, Oregon State, and the University of Oklahoma, and lanes 4, 5, and 6, San Diego, Iowa, and Tulsa.
Duke, Oregon State, and Oklahoma in that order, lanes 1, 2, and 3. Then some open water back to the University of San Diego. Tulsa beginning to move up on the outside, and challenging Iowa. Iowa looks like they have fallen back just a little bit, as the real race is shaping up right now between lanes 1 and 2, as Oklahoma had the lead in the early part of this race, but have relinquished it now to Duke and Oregon State. Tulsa making a slight move on the outside. Iowa dropping back a bit, as is the University of San Diego. Oregon State and Duke on the lead.
Duke have grabbed that lead in the third 500, and they look to be building on it at the moment. Oregon State are putting in the biggest challenge to them, and these two crews are starting to drop ever so slightly. Oklahoma out in lane 3. Out the far side, Tulsa are making a big move on the University of San Diego, who have just started their sprint.
250 meters to go, and it looks like Duke has a bit of an edge on the shoreline side. This is Oregon State out in lane number 2, and they've separated themselves out away from Oklahoma, as University of San Diego trying to make a charge, as is Tulsa, and now Iowa has picked it up. But along the shoreline, the Blue Devils on the move, trying to fight off Oregon State in lane number 2. It is Duke on the shore side, Oregon State on the lane number 2 section. Then we have some open water back to Oklahoma. Then comes University of San Diego, Iowa, with Tulsa making a run on the outside. The Duke Blue Devils along the shoreline apparently are going to hold off the furious charge from Oregon State, but we still have 100 meters to go. It is Duke in the blue along the shoreline. They are fighting off Oregon State. It is Duke, and Duke apparently and unofficially gets across the finish line first, followed by Oregon State. Duke with a 4-seat lead, and to win some open water back to Oklahoma. Then we have some open water to a very tight finish. This is the University of San Diego just barely nosing out Tulsa and Iowa for third, fourth, check that, fourth, fifth, and sixth position. Taking a look at Duke trying to hold off that furious charge by Oregon State. Duke took over at about the 1,000-meter mark, as the Oregon State crew had the lead and was battling with Oklahoma. Oklahoma tailed off as it all finished out, and Duke picked up the victory, and they edged out Oregon State in that first position. So the Duke Blue Devils spent a little bit, but very happy after picking up the winner and being the SeaWorld Cal Cup champion in the Women's Collegiate Varsity Grand Final.
So that's a good win for Duke in the Women's Cal Cup. If Duke return next year, they can conceivably expect an invitation to compete in the Jessup Whittier Cup, the premier event for women at this regatta.
Folks, just a